I was in Sweden for a weekend and sort of meeting with more advanced those who had advanced in meditation, and it was quite obvious that all of them did not do any mantra or such like, but they all went directly into traveling in the spiritual world. That means traveling and meeting different spiritual beings or areas or times. And if you also then study how both Steiner and others and Judith von Halle and describe these results in meditation, it is almost always reported how they actually confront or consult or go to places or times or persons. That means they all travel in the meditation. So it became quite clear to me that this traveling is something that seemed to be a method that all persons that are working with meditation actually do, and not just stand or remain in the work or repeating mantra or sentences or pictures, but they all the time go through this. You can start with, but you have to go through it and then travel in the spiritual world, and that is what I have been talking and urging you to do every time now lately. That is to travel, and that is, as Rudolf Steiner described in Helsinki, as Andre said, that is to go out of your body and then into something else. And in this going out of your body, which I called and into something which I call merging into something, you have to sort of merge, fade into something. It can be the blue of the sky, white of the snow, it can be a candlelight, it can be a tree, it can be anything, or a patient. That is so important, because then you are there in the spiritual world, or today maybe the easiest, into the elemental world. And when we are in the elemental world, then we can perform, for example, healing. We cannot do the occultisms that Rudolf Steiner described without being in the elemental world. And after being in the elemental world, we can be with the guardian of the threshold, and after that we can be in the spiritual world. I think that is so important, that we do the traveling of in our meditation, or not. It's not really meditation, it is pure traveling. You go out of yourself in a, you can say, in a meditative state, like Steiner described in this lecture of 3rd of April 12, Helsinki. The world, the physical world around you sort of fade away, gets sort of dark, the sounds get a little changed, and then you fade into what you have decided to fade into. And that is, or I would say everybody I know, that is first the elemental world. At least is it so today. Maybe not 100 years ago, 200 years ago. But today it seems that the elemental world is very close to human beings. And there you first observe, you first see some movement. And this movement is by both me and Rudolf Steiner described in three directions. It might be this direction, which is specific for the Luciferic beings. It might be this direction, horizontal, is specific. I have to get into English again. Specific for the Ahrimanic beings. And then you have the back and forth movement, who is specific for the Asuric beings. So these movements are the first one usually see. It reminds of Jacob's ladder. When he went into the spiritual, he saw the angels up and down on a ladder. And then you are on the way. And the problem is sort of to get there. The distance, all distances in this area is 12-fold. So when you merge or fade, I was hard to fade out, and in the merging, when you, from yourself until you reach this tree or flame or snow, there are 12, definitely 12 stadium, 12 layers, 12 stages, 12 areas to pass. And almost everybody, when they come around the 7th layer, feel a fear. Around the 8th layer, a doubt, because then you start to see, but then a doubt, is this really in my eyes, or is it just something that I think? And around the 9th, there is a certain aspect of hate. So, which is also what Rudolf Steiner described, these three counter forces that hinder you in going into the spiritual world. That is fear, doubt, and hate, which is counteracted by love, trust, and trust, love, and what is the third?
The hope.
Hope, yes, of course. Thank you. So, so you must have that, because otherwise you are sort of thrown back, and then you are stuck. The other thing that I see that everybody is stopping themselves with, and that is actually described very well in the philosophy of spiritual, what is called in English, philosophy of freedom, Philosophie der Freiheit, that you combine concept and percept. When you see a movement, you think, that is a Luciferic being, or a Ahrimanic being, or a Luciferic being, or a Asuric being. And as soon as you combine a concept with the percept, you stop yourself. Then the thinking is not living, it becomes dead. So you have, when you travel into the spiritual world or through the elemental world, you have to only observe and not make concepts. If you only observe, you pass on further and further, until you meet the guardian of the threshold after going through the 3 layers of the elemental world. The first layer is the Luciferic layer, called the third elemental realm. Then you have the second elemental realm, which is the Ahrimanic layer. And then you have the first, which is the last that you come to, elemental realm, which is the Asuric region. And these 3 regions are very different. They have different, the elemental beings look very different, they behave very different, they have sort of different laws, different ways of behavior. And to go through, you have also to act a little differently. It's like you walk through a forest. If there are many trees, but the ground is dry, then you have to move through the trees. Let's say then you come to a bog without trees, then you have to walk in a different way. So, so you have to change your behavior during these, when you go through these areas of the elemental world. So this is a short recapitulation of what I have been saying before. So it is not new to most of you, but I did the recapitulation because maybe some are new here in those who listen, and also to underline what I think is important, or also underline problems that I maybe haven't been underlining in that way before. So at this point, and as we did last time, I am open to, because when I do these groups, both in Germany and Sweden and other places, there are problems. They are stuck somewhere. Almost everybody stops somewhere. And then most of the work now is to find out what is the problem, why is it stopping, why can't you come further? Last time it was it worked very well with questions and discussion and answers. So I would invite at least that now a little.
Okay, dear friends. If you have a question or statements, so please on the bottom, go on the bottom of your screen. This is reactions. And click on reactions and you will see icon raise a hand. So please do so if you have any questions or statements. Okay, Nancy is first. Nancy, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ari, for doing this. I don't seem to relate to the 12 different steps to go through in order to do what I think that you're saying that we do. And that is, I do fade in, but I fade into a patient. And once the sudden deaths started happening with the post-vax things, I could no longer fade in and get what I needed to get. I would talk with the patient in a different form. Once I faded into the patient, then I would be there and I would start talking to the patient, but sometimes they wouldn't talk back. Their entourage would talk back. Their sacred beings around them would like talk to me or say something or show me a picture. And I can't get that now. Do you have any suggestions?
And
or
that is
am I stuck?
And that was after COVID?
Yes, yes. And the vaccine. The COVID didn't do it. I was still fine during that time.
COVID or the vaccine, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even, it is not necessary even both of them. It's also happening without this now, I have observed. Because that is the opening of the first elemental realm. You know, opening of the third elemental realm was described by Rudolf Steiner, 1879. So the next opening was around 1949. And then the third opening, the full opening, was around 2019. And then these elemental beings belonging to the Asuric forces, the Asuric elemental being, they have a profound effect. And they, Rudolf Steiner described that Luciferic elemental beings, they are always in the upper part of the body, above the heart. And then we have the Ahrimanic, who is below the heart. And then we have the Asuric, which is little to the right of the heart. And they have a profound effect on spiritual perception, and has to be counteracted by a Christ force. Mm-hmm. So you have to, just on the right side, a little under here, mm-hmm. the heart, you have to concentrate there and try to invite Christ in, and then see if you can regain your diagnostic procedure.
Actually, I get a pain there, and it's almost as if it's a heart pain, but it's on the left. And yeah, that's where I'm stuck. So I will try that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you are stuck there, and you have to do that. Otherwise, you will be stuck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
But that was more sort of a medical question. How is it when, and that is for all, how is it when you merge? What is stopping you from coming through? That is what I would like to hear.
From me?
No, from all.
Okay, good.
But thank you for the question. Now you can mute, and then others.
Dear friends, who is next?
Because I need a little feedback, I need a little conversation, because I cannot just repeat and repeat.
Okay.
Of course,
yeah,
I could describe this, what you see after the guardian of the threshold, but that is not what I want. I want you to go there yourself and not just get knowledge, because, as I said before, it's so important to understand the difference between the path, or as I say in America, path, and knowledge. And it's too much knowledge. Focus on knowledge. We must focus more on walking the path into the spiritual. Yeah. So that is what I want to discuss.
Katerina is next. Katerina, unmute your machine, please.
Hi, I'm Catherine. This is my first time, so I was hesitant to ask a question because I just discovered you a few weeks ago. I've watched the other recordings, but I'm just starting. So I'm asking a very beginning question, but I find in order to do the concentration, I have to focus like on my feet or something, otherwise my mind starts to go, and then I'm also still in my body, but it helps me not go into concepts or so I just need some help of doing that concentration without paying attention to my body. But if I do, like, if I pay attention to the bird song or something like that, then my mind doesn't wander. Do you have a suggestion for that?
Well, then you have to sit in, take the blinds in front of the windows. You have a very beautiful out there, trees, and you have to shut yourself off, maybe. I don't know. That is, I do not actually have a good answer to how you shall keep your concentration. Because when you start to observe these movements, or later then phases, and then the Luciferic, Ahrimanic, Azuric beings, you come, then for me it is like, this is so interesting that I don't care about anything else then. So I could sit for an hour doing this traveling.
Yeah.
Not more usually, but you have to have time to do it. You have to sort of, you shouldn't have a lot of things to do. It should be a day or a time of the day where you have nothing to do. And and then you seclude yourself, and then you have to fade or merge into something. I don't have a better advice than that.
Yeah. And if I do pay attention to something outside of myself, like the bird song, it just keeps me in myself.
You can merge into the birdsong. Steiner described also that, how to merge into the crying of the seagulls, and you can go into the song of songbirds, you can go into different sounds of nature, you can go into the sound of the wind. Actually, you can travel. That works for me actually quite well. You can travel into that, and then you can go into totally other areas of the spiritual world than I have mentioned before.
Yeah. So with the eyes open, but listening to the sounds in the nature instead of.
Yeah, it helps with the eyes open, because that keeps you on the macrocosmic path. If you shut your eyes, then it's easy to go inside.
Yeah.
And that is not what we are going to do. We will see when we go the macrocosmic path, you will meet the microcosmic path after some time, after a while, after some distance. They will meet. But not now. It's a later experience.
Okay, well, then maybe I'll try it sometimes too, just with the sound, because that might help me more than the sight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hong is next.
Hi,
Welcome.
Thank you. So can I ask a question about this perceiving? First, right now we are practicing this kind of thought-free sensing, right? And I always feel like, oh, it's very hard for me to put this into that three soul forces: the thinking, feeling, and will. So which one we can put it into kind of this three category, or this perceiving belongs to the different realm? Can I ask you?
I'm not sure what you ask exactly, but I think I understand. So I will try to answer, and you can tell me if I do it right or wrong. Another important thing, when you, as I said, first you have to fade out of yourself, and then you have to merge into something. And this fading out of yourself can be done in different aspects. You can fade out with your consciousness. You can fade out with your feeling, and you can also fade out with your willing. you can fade out with different or through different parts of your body. You can fade out through the liver. I remember I was in Norway. There was a very famous German doctor, anthroposophist, who was talking about how Steiner faded out. And he described one time, he told me, that he preferred to fade out through the liver. And when he said that, he was clapping his stomach and said, I am a specialist of going through the liver into the spiritual. So you see, you can do that in very many ways. Personally, I prefer to fade out either through the heart or through the conscious area of the brain. So we might see either through the feeling or through the thinking. But that is individual. You can actually fade out with or through anything you want.
Okay, so that sounds like this perceiving kind of beyond this three thinking, feeling, and will, this realm, right? Can I?
Once more, please.
So this perceiving, this kind of no matter this activity or this capacity, kind of beyond that three soul for capacities, that's thinking, will, and feeling.
Yeah, when you fade out, they are separated sort of automatically, because you cannot, or at least it's difficult for me to fade out with all of these things. I have to do it only through one, and then they are divided, and that is automatically a division of thinking, feeling, and or / willing.
But you also use your perceiving capacity, right? Perceive.
I use the perception.
Yes.
Yes, you can. That is usually through the inspiration or intuition, or through the hearing. I have described how the clairvoyance can change into clairaudience. So you can do it through the clairaudience or clairvoyance, or also imaginative clairvoyance, or through the inspiration, intuition. But that is different. I think that I have talked to many people about it, and some perceive in this way and others perceive in that way. And after a while, they can switch a little and try other ways. But in the beginning, it is quite individual.
But right now, the kind of this practice you introduced kind of through this sense of this vision, and we fade away from our consciousness, right?
With the consciousness.
With the consciousness.
Yeah, not from it.
Oh, but you just mentioned we need to go out of this body, but still have the consciousness.
With the consciousness.
Okay, so still awake, right?
Oh yes, fully awake, very, very clear, very concentrated, and the consciousness go out and into something else. Like this, before you described this woman who said she went into the patients and then observed different pathological changes or elemental beings in the patients. So you have to go, and then you have to be fully conscious. You can do it also with the feeling or the willing or other ways, but I prefer the consciousness.
Oh, okay. So, and my next question is, when I began to observe that patterns, some forms, do I follow this movement, or I still keep my gaze at the same direction? So which way do I need to follow? Do I just follow this movement of the form, the movement, or my gaze still, looks at direction?
Yes, the next difficulty is then you then see this movement, and then you sort of decide, what shall I do? Shall I follow it? Shall I not follow it? And so on. And in doing that, you put concept and percept together. So I think you must only follow and go through. The aim is the guardian of the threshold. And then you have to go through the elemental realms. Later, you can go back and perform hygienic occultism or eugenic occultism or mechanic occultism or whatever you want to do in these elemental realms, like Keely did or Schauberger did or others have done or do. But now I think that the important is to reach the guardian of the threshold, and then you just pass through it. And it's like you are going to you have a big city, New York, and you want to go to a certain place, and you cannot then stop and look at every shop window or like this. You have to just go.
Yes,
and,
but you still need
and
to
not think too much on the way.
Yes, but for example, yes, when then this movement come out, so there are two ways: I follow or not follow. So
You go through. That is the better.
I go through. That means I can follow or I don't follow, right?
No, let's say you come to the third realm and you have the Luciferic movement.
Yes.
I don't follow the movement because then I stop there. Like I want to go through New York and I cannot stop and look at a window. So I go through it. I go through it. And then I go further and further. I did that mistake for 50 years, what you now described. I went into the third elemental realm from I was quite small and watched these elemental beings there, and I followed their movement. I followed them. And that stopped me at that level. I never came to the guardian until I went through this.
I still not quite clear. How can I just go through without following, without anything? Just
No,
go
you
through.
don't
What does that
follow.
mean?
Let's say you go through a town and there are people going, some are going there, some are going there. And so you don't follow any of them, you just go on. You keep your compass direction.
Hmm. It's
One of my favorite expressions.
okay. And right now, so far, kind of most of the movement, kind of this up and down, kind of what you described, kind of Luciferic. I have, and sometimes the diagonal, a little bit harmonic, but I never think this front and back, this direction.
No, because you follow it and you shouldn't, you have to go directly through. That is your mistake.
Okay.
At this point.
So, okay, so doesn't mean I need to see all this direction, the movement from all directions, and then
No,
I can
you just observe it, but you don't care.
But you just mentioned people can also see this front and back, this direction movement, but I haven't seen that then.
No, because you follow, you stop yourself.
Oh, okay. So you mean if I don't stop myself, I can see that front and back?
Then you will come further and then you will observe all three movements, yes. And when you have passed the front and back movement, then you will meet the guardian of the threshold. And that is our goal, because when you meet him/her, then you will be led. then he will give you advice. Then you are sort of through the fog or the forest or the darkness or the adversarial areas or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm. And another question is, besides this practice, do we need to kind of try to do something else to help us? For example, right now we kind of, I think you mentioned in your other books about how we need to protect our sense of vision, try to limit the screen time or something. Because right now we are also using our vision, this sense. Do you think we need to also do something to help? Something else, maybe don't use the computer too long or something like this?
I have a little problem with some of your pronunciation. Can you repeat the question very clear?
Okay, so my question is that you mentioned in your other book about how we need to protect our kind of some senses. For example, the sense of the vision.
Oh, yeah, like that. Yes, I understand now. And the question is,
do we need to also, yes, how in order to kind of facilitate this process, do we also, besides this practice, we just also try to help us, or for example, limiting our time using the computer, or all kinds of things.
when you travel, when you are in this traveling through the elemental world, it doesn't matter actually. This is this world, the conceptions, the adversarial delusions and such. That is, you're beyond that problem when you have seen these movements, and especially this horizontal. Then you don't care about that. That's okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But you mentioned a lot about especially
now we have to let you can come later, and we have to let some others.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So Lois is first. Lois.
Hey, hello, and hello, Ari. Thank you so much for doing this course. I wish I had started it from the beginning, because I was working with fading in teaching eurythmy. We were fading into the metals and then doing a eurythmy class around the gestures for the planets related to the metals. And I want to do the course again. So in a while after I work with this, I'll revisit that. I'm sort of building the course. But right now, what I found after fading into various things and trying many was fading into a fading rose. And it really gave me a lot of ease into getting into the movement. And what I found was that I didn't get up, down, or left, right, or front, back. The row, I got more of a spiraling and a swirling and sort of this kind of gesture that got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I have a little budgie bird here. I tried it today with the rose on my desk beside the bird cage. And the bird it couldn't hang on to the perch or hang on to the cage. It was flying all over the place when this movement happened. I thought that was really funny that this little animal also perceived that enhanced movement. Then I'm not having, I'm stuck at that. I'm not getting past the movement. So I tried, I got the smell of the rose. Now the rose is fading, so it doesn't smell that strongly anymore. But after the movement started, the smell of the rose came really, really strong, a pure rose smell. And then I thought, maybe I'll try listening to it. So I tried to listen, and there was too much ambient noise. So I put my ear right up to the rose and did sort of like this. And I started to get some high-pitched sounds. And I thought, I'm experimenting around this level, but I'm not getting through. And what you just spoke about, we're going for the guardian I think that answered my question, because I don't know what I'm targeting to go through, what's my intention. And I think it will really help me. And what do you think? If when I get to all the movement, if I think, where is the guardian? So I didn't know what I was trying to do except go through. So, and also I tried moving left and right and up and down. And for me, it was best to stay centered and a little above the rose. And I tried to go through, but I didn't know where I was going. So would it help me at this point to say, to set the intention, I want to go through to the guardian?
I must first say that your description is very, it gives me great joy to hear, because it is very obvious that you have trained this for a long time, or you have before, maybe through eurythmy. And this fading into metals is a very, very good exercise. And but again, what stop people? It's important to understand that at the time of Steiner, the elemental world was forbidden. So he sort of didn't go into these techniques at that time. And then you are lost in, what shall I do? Shall I move up? You are not going to move up or down or whatever. You stay very, very calm. You just float through it. You observe the movements, but you are not following it. As I understood you, you almost said you must not follow it. As I told the one before you or two before you, you must just float through it, straight ahead, in the middle, straight ahead. Don't feel any fear or doubt or hate or whatever. And then you will come to a threshold. And I don't think you are that far away from that. And then you meet a person, and then you should ask, who are you? Because it might be different from different persons, and in different areas of the world. In America, Australia, it is not certain that it is the same guardian of the threshold, although I expect it to be this Vidar entity that has sort of taken over this guardian threshold thing after Mikael have higher work to do. But I'm not, it might be different. But your description gave me a very joy to hear. Then I feel I do something. So otherwise, I feel I don't do anything.
Well, no, I have to report that the group that I was working with in Eurythmy, it was remarkable what they were coming to as we meditated each week on a different metal. And yeah. I didn't tell them everything Steiner had said about it, just enough to kind of open them. And then what they said after, when I was reading what Steiner said, we were going, oh my gosh, that's what Julie tuned into. Oh my gosh, that's what
but you,
tuned into.
As I said, you must not stay at that point. You must go on, which you couldn't do in 1920. But now we can go through, and that is the important thing.
Well, I'm trying, but I will work further, just center and gently, gently move through. Yeah.
Right.
I'll try that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Claire is next. Claire, please unmute yourself.
Hello, Ara, and hello, everyone. Ara, I had that question last time about the microcosmic and the macrocosmic path. And I find that when I fade into a tree, kind of when I cross over, I always get into incredible eons of time. So I find myself amongst the forces of Jupiter, or I find myself communicating with the spirit of a tree that is from eons, that somehow reveals eons of time. And it's kind of overwhelming and knocks me a little bit off my center because of this time aspect.
Yes.
That I feel lost in the regions of time. And I think I immediately stop there because, or somehow that shakes me.
And that has to do with a certain fear. I realized very soon, when I did this traveling, that you could, when you get into the elemental world, you can time travel. So there are two possibilities when you come even from the third elemental realm, and even more in the second and first. And of course, before that, when you come into the spiritual world, there are sort of two ways of travel. One is in time, and the other is in space. And with space, that doesn't necessarily mean physical space, but could be spiritual space, and also the time. You will see there are several aspects of time on the other side. Not only the double time stream, but it is actually quadruple time stream. And if you go straight, as I told the one before you, if you go straight, you will not travel in time. If you go to the left, you go back in time. If you go to the right, you go forward in time. And it might be one of the few times I was scared myself was when I went to the left, and then I just went back and back and back and back and back. At a certain time, I had a little problems in coming back, so I used half an hour. But of course, you always come back. And I went so far back that I actually saw dinosaurs. And I thought, this is not good. What if I strand here? I thought, then I have nobody to talk with but dinosaurs the rest of my life. But you must not be scared. If you keep in the middle and go straight, you will avoid this time traveling. And when you travel in time, there is also two possibilities. One is to set a goal. You can travel to a certain place at a certain time, or a certain person, or you can just travel. And that is two different techniques, but you shall not use them yet. You shall go straight.
So the one straight experience I had, it felt like a spiraling movement going right through Jupiter.
Yeah.
But that was very scary too. It was very scary.
Yeah, then you traveled in space.
Okay.
And you can travel to Mars or Jupiter or Saturn or actually wherever you want. And it is not, well, if you think it's scary, maybe you shouldn't do that. But if you are aware that you are here and this is in the spirit and the spirit can come back, no problem, then you can do it. But yes, that is some of the possibilities. But of course, as I told you, the three great adversarial forces is fear. One of them, fear, and that stops you. And Steiner said that fear stops you. And brave, you have to be brave. And then comes the doubt. And then comes the hate, which can be counteracted by love.
Thank you. That helps.
Yeah, so you have to be brave, you have to have a hope, and you have to have love and go straight in the middle. And so later, when you have met the guardian and so, then you can experiment by traveling in time, which is quite fun, actually, or in space, which is also quite fun, and then you are not so afraid. But what I have said again and again, almost all of you, what is called in English, diverge, yeah. And if you read this old English book, it's called The Pilgrim's Progress, and written in the early 1800s, I think, or something. And all the problems started by, oh, maybe I should take that path. Oh, maybe I shall take that path. And what you should do is go straight. So if you read that book, it really say to you, yes, you can go this other, but there you meet things that might not be nice or might frighten you even more than you thought. And even me, which is quite brave, who is quite... So that is why I said to several, don't follow the movements, don't go up and down or right and left or travel in time or whatever. Go straight, because when you have come to the guardian, he/she will help you. You are sort of in safe hands there. And then you can later do different things that is a little more, could have been a little more frightening in the beginning.
Okay.
Was that the answer?
Yes, that's a very, very good answer. Yes,
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Justina is next. Justine?
Hi. I have a little bit of a medical question. I hope that's okay. I've found that it's easier for me to fade into the elemental beings of the patients that I work with. And I've come to a point where I can, when I'm in a place where it's high luciferic content, I will hear a very loud screech. And when I'm in an Ahrimanic space, it'll feel like a big, like, ooh, kind of sound. And I've kind of wondered if working at a 90 degrees to get out of that space, do I need to come? I usually ask Christ, do I come back to the middle, or do I go to the opposite, like in an Ahrimanic space to work with them? How do I choose the 90 degrees? And is it perhaps also based on the places of, like if I'm in an Aquarius space, do I go to the Capricorn knees, or do I go that way?
The last sentence was, if with the knees, can you repeat that?
Yeah, so I believe that, let's say the calves are an Aquarius space, and if you go up, you will go to the Capricorn. Is that 90 degrees?
Yes.
Or do I, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I have to switch to another, I can't remember the word right now, but
Zodiacal sign?
Yes.
or part of the body or organ or meridian, you know, you have to not treat the problematic area, because then you translocate the disease.
Yes.
Let's say you have a headache, you shall not treat the headache or the head or the cause of that. You have to, because then you translocate,
Yes.
but you have to go in 90 degrees and do something actually else. And then you can start a transformation of the disease. But now you have stopped in the third or second realm. And that is not, and that is okay if you are, let's say, work with medical patients and such. Then you can work in the third realm of the elemental world, or maybe over a little in the second. But first, you should go through and reach the guardian. He will help you. I tend to say he, but in these times you should say he/she maybe. He will help you. And then you also get advice for your work, because this help you get from the guardian is both general and also individual, special. Everybody get help how to go further in their personal life, spiritual development, or spirituality in their work. Was that an answer, or?
Yeah, so should I, if I'm with someone, should I fade as far as I can, as far as I know how to, until I get a certain answer of what that person needs, and then go from there?
Well, now no, now you mix. There is two things.
Okay.
One is to go through and get to the guardian, and that is your spiritual work for you.
My own, yeah.
And then you have the work with patients, which is something else. Then you stop in the third or second, especially the third elemental realm, and there you work with the 90 degrees, and that is the healing. That are two different things.
Got
It's
it.
actually different, but that is still two different things. But first, before, and I did that mistake, I stopped in the third and worked there for 50 years. And that is okay. I probably did good work there, and I had my work there, but I didn't go further. And that is important. That is what I want you all to do. So it's two aspects of the same thing, but that makes it different.
Okay.
Was that clear?
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Raven, next. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello. I think my question kind of got answered in what you were saying to the last person, but I could be wrong. So I'll proceed anyway. So I did a lot of practicing, and I stayed with the candle for a while. And then I had this one day where I had like a bigger experience, and I did draw a picture. So I'm going to just show it. I hope you can see all that's there. But in that experience,
And
so
you is the black person. That's you, the black man. It's
so down here. So first they came one at a time. So first, it was the gnomes and the candle flame, and then there was this veil. Yeah, if you can see this blue veil.
oh yeah,
and then
yeah.
all the forces that were holding the candle together, and then it glowed into this purple glow. And then this big black bird came, it kind of coming towards me, and it was, I thought, oh, this could be the frightening thing, but I didn't actually feel frightened. I just thought, oh, okay, there that is. There was this, this was going upward, like as if it was powering the flame. But then it was like a man, which I thought of as a priest. And then I actually heard the words, and he said that your very feet are a chalice for your will, and pour your will into that. And then that was the last that I did with the candle. And then I think I got some of the doubt and not quite hate, but I got doubt, like maybe I'm imagining these things. But then I started, instead of doing the candle, this was, when we had a lot of snow and it was starting to melt. So I started to do with the snow, and I saw some other elementals, I think, and these kind of crystalline ones that would come towards me, but at like a diagonal like that. And they would come and then they would just go.
Can I say something at this point?
Yes.
And what do you think I will say?
To keep going, or don't make a concept.
Yeah, you stop and you make observations and you wonder, what is this, what is that? You can do that later.
Yeah.
Go straight through.
So then
many of you are now ready to go straight through this and reach the guardian.
All right. So this was back in February, and I did, I didn't so much practice, like now I'm practicing, but I live in a place where I live on an Indian reservation, and there's very little buildings. There's a lot of nature, and there's a lot of quiet. So I can just stop anytime during my day and just look, and it like it's just nice. But then I kind of forgot about this experience and the words about the feet. But then I looked back and I realized I had started this whole practice where every day I take a copper rod and I roll my feet on it, and I have all my students doing it, and I've really been able to just see how good that is for their feet and for their whole everything really, but starting with the feet. So I realized that something kind of more at a deeper level unfolded for it. But anyway, then lately I've started to perceive this being around me that's very, and it's very soft and helpful. And it's I feel like I can perceive my angel, whereas before I just had a thought, well, yes, of course I have an angel, but it's this perception, and there's a reality to it that really wasn't ever there before. So that was my question, is am I, well, I am sure it's a real being, who or what.
But again, I say the same. You now start to analyze what you see or not see, or what you do or not do. That stops you. If it's this or that, don't think about that at this point. Just pass through. Passing through.
Yeah. Can I ask, so that stopping, is that doubt, when Steiner says you'll meet fear, doubt, and hate, is that doubt when you start saying, well, what is this? Is it real? Is it not real?
Well, you stop yourself not only by fear, doubt, and hate, you also stop yourself, as described in the philosophy of freedom, by letting concepts kill your percept. Then your thinking gets dead. That is also a way of stopping you. There are several ways of stopping yourself, actually, but that is what most of you at this time do. You stop yourself by, you are to go through London, you don't stop and look at the windows. Oh, a new clothes. Oh, what a nice dress. Then you never get through. You have to just go. And I saw that in Sweden too, with that group there. And then, in a way, as long as you have a question, like you have, many of you, as long as you have a question, it is actually stopping yourself, because if you just go through, you don't get that many questions. So you should not have any questions.
So why are you asking us for questions?
Because I have to tell that you shouldn't have too many questions. Well, I can answer some of them, but the main thing is, so next time when we start and I say we have planned 1.5 hours or something, and I have a few words, Andre have a few words, and then there is no questions. I would say, well, good. Now you got it.
Wonderful.
This is a little, I press it a little, as you understand. I put it a little on the point, but there is a great truth in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now nobody else dare to ask any questions.
No, we have some new arrivals. So some people joined us, 3 or 4 people, friends. So of course, Albert, which is Penny, Dr. Penny from Australia. Okay, Penny, go ahead. Thank you for coming.
Hello, Ari.
Hi.
Hi. I would like to say very quickly that I had an experience very similar to the one described by the lady who just spoke back when I was watching the candle. And early on at one point, it was as if the flame drew backwards and the wick came forwards and the whole thing became a scene, and it was to me like a stage in a theatre, and the candle flame was forming the curtains at the back of the stage, and I called him the Wick Man, and he was little man, exactly like she drew, except with mine, the bottom half was dark and the top half was bright, because that was the glow part of the wick, I think.
Yeah.
But what then happened was he suddenly split in two, and there were 2 of them, and it was like they had musical instruments in their hands, like tambourines, and I think that was sparks of some sort, and they started dancing. And it was a very slow, jerky dance, like you get in those early films where the movement is sort of quite slow. And I thought it was fantastic. I mean, I just love watching it. So that's an example of how it can be so fascinating. You really just don't want to move on.
Yes, and this is a very common description in the middle of the 3rd realm of the elemental world. And this dance, I have watched this very often. I even wrote a Norwegian poem about it. This dance, when they come in, the elemental being, and they dance, a slow dance. And they go in a holy ring, often in a spiral-wise dance. So then you are in the 3rd realm, in the middle of the 3rd realm, I would say, maybe a little further than the middle. But then you start to look at this and you find it very interesting and and then you are stop. Then you stop. Then you go through London, and then you see a very, very nice shop with beautiful dresses, you know, for women. And then you stop there, and you stand there half an hour and look at all these beautiful clothes, Harrods in London. But then you don't go on. You have to sort of just go on in the middle and reach further.
But what happened then on subsequent sessions, I liked it so much that I had a look and asked the man if he'd come back out. And he did. Yes. And this went on for several sessions, but he seemed to get less and less willing to come out. And after that, not during the sessions, I was thinking about it, and I've got an ethics question, because it occurred to me, maybe I was conjuring him, which was the opposite of liberating. And now I'm stuck on that thought. Yeah. So
again, now you stop yourself.
Yeah. But is that conjuring if you actually asking them to come forward?
Yeah, but you see, then you put your wish into a stage of, it's like I passed through London again. My goal is to go through London and to the other side.
Yeah.
And then I, at a certain point, get thirsty and I wish I had a Coke or an ice cream, you know. You never come through.
Mm. Mm.
That is what all of you more or less do. You in different ways, you stop yourself by
Yes.
observing and thinking, and oh, maybe he liked this, or maybe this man don't like that I ask him, or maybe he like it. And these are thoughts that is for later,
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
But first you will reach the guardian, and the guardian will help you. And then if you are, for example, a medical, then you can go into the third and really experience things there, or a mechanic into the second, or whatever into the first.
Mm.
And but this is for later.
Thank you.
Of course you can stop there. I stopped, as I have said several times now, 50 years in the third, doing medical work. And it's okay. But I now realize the most important is to pass through.
Yes. Yes. So it's a non-judgmental, non-conceptual journey until you get to the threshold. Yes.
Yes. Exactly.
Well, if you can't help, when things come up and you recognize them and you can't help saying, oh, that's such and such. If I can give an example from more recently, you told me that I had to find things, Australian elemental things for myself. And I had to look at a plant. So I took a pot plant and I chose the Hypoestes, which I have on my shelf. That's Hypoestes, Hypoestes. It's got speckled leaves, pink and green, small leaves. So I had a few sessions looking at that. And then suddenly faces started to appear from out of the foliage.
Yes.
And the first thing I got was like a very small, bright-eyed monkey face. And I couldn't help thinking it was a monkey face because I instantly sort of knew. And then that changed into a lion's head, but it was the lioness. And again, I recognized it immediately because it was exactly the same as the Egyptian pictures of the lioness. And this head was in profile looking to the right, sort of fairly delicate though. It was just like the Egyptian drawings. And then that changed again. And it came into something that looked like a kangaroo, which is the point I wanted to lead up to.
Yes.
And it wasn't quite a kangaroo, but it was kangaroo-ish.
Yeah.
And I had a bit of trouble firming that up. It was a bit blurry. And then suddenly it changed again. And at first I hadn't the faintest idea what it was, but it looked like a rat. But then it was a kangaroo.
But let me break you out of there, because
Yeah.
these are things you can engage in later.
Oh, that's later again.
I'm not so interested in these not too detailed descriptions. You have to go on. All these descriptions are from the third elemental realm.
Okay. So I just wanted you to know I had seen some Australian things.
Yeah, but that is good, because it's very interesting to watch these different elemental beings. You see, in the third elemental realm, the Luciferic elemental beings, they are very different from Alaska or Australia or South America and Norway, Scandinavia. And that is, for me, a great interest and joy in observing. And also in disease, of course, how they work in the body and so on. And I did that for as I said now several times, 50 years. But that it stopped there, and I was I could have done much more earlier if I had gone through. I regret that.
Yes, well, I don't have that much time left, so I'm
No,
listening
so
to
you
what
have
you
to.
say.
So you have. Don't stop in this third round. Go through.
Yes. Does it make any difference if you're afraid of spiders?
Yes, you should. And you have to tell yourself when you travel in the spiritual / elemental world, it is not physical.
Right.
The spiders cannot bite you. And when you happen to go left and travel in time, your body is here now. So you are not lost.
So I won't get that visceral gut reaction of horror,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is what
yeah.
usually happens.
It can be, but that is also a training. You have to, when you
Right.
pray, then you go back and then you do it next day instead.
Thank you. And I did send you via Andre that picture I came across of a weasel.
Yes.
And I wondered if you wanted to speak to that, but if not, I don't want to take up too much time. So
That is for later. That is session 6 or 7, I think. Now we are on 4. Now I want to push you to the threshold.
right. I think I've got it.
And many of you are very close. Most of you are in the 3rd, 2nd, none really in the 1st, but yeah, you are closing on.
Thank you.
But the main mistake is that you have too many questions. But you have to have questions to understand that you shouldn't have questions. It's like you have to be a wise man to understand that you are not wise, that you don't know anything, sort of situation.
In the Jungian types, I'm an INTJ, which is probably the worst for doing this. And I think you're supposed to be an ENFP, which is more perceiving and not judging. So I found that useful.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Nancy is next. Nancy.
Okay. Hello. So my question is around maybe I can't. Anyways, my question is around where I start when I'm beginning again after I've done the candle or I've done the snow. I'm doing now trees a lot, and I feel like I start where I left off. So I don't see so much movement anymore, but I get the feeling of a big presence. Or the first, it was like sap running within me, and then there's a big presence. And the first time it was like this, the words of plant God came. And then it's funny, the images of the dancing beings rejoicing, that kind of feeling. But I try to keep moving. And so as I keep moving, I feel like I'm going into unknown terrain, and it starts feeling pretty bereft.
Bereft means?
Like there's not much there. There's sort of a vacuum.
Oh, yes.
So instead of being with the tree as it was, I'm now sort of on the top of a big pole. There's no branches on the tree. And it's overlooking a great distance, and I'm starting to feel tears and very alone and not knowing where to go, because there's so much unknownness. Then the sense of a blackbird is coming and taking me somewhere, but still where I'm taken is like hollow, that there's nothing, there's an emptiness, and still sort of tears come and the sense of, okay, what do I do here? How do I move? But at the same time, there is a feeling of aliveness somewhere, but I don't know how to.
Now I have, this is actually something I've been waiting for to hear, because now I can say a little more on how to move through the first elemental realm. The first elemental realm. The third is all this dancing thing, or sort of the elemental beings of nature and life, and then you have the Ahrimanic, who is very dull, actually very dull, very no laughter, just. And then when you come closer to the first elemental realm, in the third elemental realm, everything is three-dimensional. It's you know exactly where you are. I'm here and they are there and the flame is there and so on. In the second, you in a way loses a dimension or two. And when you come to the first, there is no dimensions. There is sort of vacuum. There is no life. There is only death, or rather nothingness, vacuum. And is in this no life, death, vacuum, zero-dimensional space, you have to walk like a scout in thick fog. If you have been a scout or a Girl Scout, you know that you have the map and you have the compass, and there is a thick fog, and then you watch the compass and you just follow the red or the arrow. You just follow it exactly, and you don't go to the right or to the left. And then you have to be very concentrated on going straight. Otherwise, you go, what happens in the high mountains in fog? You go in a ring circle. Yeah, and that is happening in the first elemental realm. That is like walking in fog without any dimensions. Also, if you in the physical, if you're up in the high mountains and you walking in fog, there are sort of no dimensions. You know, you have no idea up and down or right or left or whatever you. So that is, you must have a compass in the first elemental realm. And you have to go straight. And that is in the scout movement, which I was some years when I was young, that is very important, this going straight ahead, not go off into any direction. And that is how you get to the threshold.
Okay.
And you are definitely very close to there in that first realm, or maybe also in it.
Yeah, I could feel just how hard it was to know how to travel. And
yes, and you travel like this, but you have to travel like this.
So just kind of imaginatively trying to bring in a focus.
Yes. An imaginative compass. And don't care about the right or left, you go straight. And that is actually what I have been saying to everybody tonight. Go straight on. And in the third, it's, well, you there have to do, but in the first, it is even more important to go straight on. Because in the third, you can have much fun, even if you don't go straight on and you just come back the day after. But in the first, it is what is called paramount important. Yeah. It is important. You have to go straight, because in a vacuum there is sort of nothingness.
Right.
And you know, what amazes me a little is the elemental beings in the first. They are soratic, or they are a very dodgy character.
Oh.
And where, if you see this film, The Lord of the Rings, when Frodo met first time Sauron, who obviously is a Asuric being, he said, there is no life in the great depth of the universe.
Mm.
There is only death. And that is so true for this first elemental realm.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel this loneliness, and you feel almost like crying, and you feel a fear, or you can feel this nothingness.
Mm.
And nothingness is actually quite frightening for some. And you have to maybe go there several times to understand that this nothingness you have to face, which might be a little difficult.
Right.
But that is what you have to train now.
Okay. Even at the end, when with the fears or the tears, towards the end of that, I could feel a sense of being alive to something else. And
yeah, if you continue, you're very close to the guardian.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just to continue and swallow your your depression.
Yeah, well, and it sort of continued after that. I have felt a presence of that with me, like in the day world as well. So, so it's good to know where it's coming from. And the night of that time, I dreamt of this snake, a very menacing snake, cobra-like, that was meeting my eyes. And but then I realized it was behind glass. So that was kind of affirming that,
because they are not dangerous.
Yeah.
The only danger is your own fear, doubt, or hate, or depression, or that you don't like snakes or emptiness or whatever.
Okay.
Your own imaginations you fear.
Right. Can you say something about hate? I'm like other words to describe that, what people might feel in that realm of feeling hate. I don't quite get it yet.
Oh, wait. When it comes, it comes.
Okay. Because I can feel anger or irritation.
Yeah.
Hate's another level.
Yeah, anger and irritation is more the Luciferic. That is more to the third realm. This ambivalence is more to the second, and this hate is more to the first. So you will meet it at a certain level. Because the Asuric beings, they hate.
Uh-huh. And so we pick up that.
Yeah.
No.
You always pick up the emotions or where you go through.
Okay.
And that is also one, and if you stop and look, you pick it up more. So that is also important, to pass through and not pick up emotions, just passing through, sometime happy, sometime blue. Like Leonard Cohen said, glad that I ran into you. But you have to pass through. That is the important thing.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. So dear friends, we are working 1 hour and 30 minutes. So, and we have no questions.
Not
So
after I said that those who make questions, they have they have done it wrong.
yeah, I'm wondering if it's good time to maybe schedule next meeting, which will be like in 2 months.
Yes.
And I can see one more raised hand from Penny. Yeah, Penny, just a second. So we will arrange the meeting.
Yeah. What about the 22nd of July?
22nd of July. Let me open the calendar. July 22nd. It will be Saturday. So, well, works for me. So any suggestions? Looks like it's a good date.
Yeah.
So doing it at the same time at 11 a.m., right? At
Yeah.
Central Time in Chicago. Excellent. Yeah, dear friends, please do registration, not the last moment, please. Because, you know, I have 4 people who didn't come due to late registration. So unfortunately, they stayed away in the waiting room or somewhere else. Okay, excellent. So, Ari, do you have any strength to answer one more question, or?
Yes.
Okay. Penny, go ahead. You are muted. Unmute your machine, please.
Sorry. Ari, I wondered if there was any possibility of arranging something like a letterbox or a notice board where we could put any questions or thoughts or things we found between workshops,
Yes.
which would
Do
give
it.
you a
Do it.
chance to look at them beforehand.
Do it.
How though?
Penny, I will arrange.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, Penny, I will arrange it. So I will open email account.
Oh, wonderful.
Independent email account, and Ari will have an access and treat your questions between sessions.
Would it be open to everybody in the workshop? So
Yes. I will send an announcement with this email address, so you will use it between sessions.
And then Ari can avoid answering the questions he doesn't want to look at. So.
Well, anyway, I mean, it will be helpful for him and for us too.
Thank you.
I think I will answer, but I often answer in very short sentences.
Indeed. Yes.
We notice it.
Thank you for that. I think it'll make a difference.
Yeah, we do that.
All right. So thank you all for joining us for workshop number 4, and looking forward to see you guys in July. So Ari, thank you so much for joining us and for your instructions. So yeah, dear friends, I mean, if you would like to, please unmute your machines and say thank you to Ari, and we will conclude.
Thank you, Ari.
Thank you, Ari.
Thank you, Ari.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, Andre, for all your work.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you next time, dear friends. Okay.
See you in 2 months. 2 months.
In 2 months, yeah. Okay, take care, everybody.
Thank you.